frustrations and anger among some of our people, we firmly condemn all forms of intolerance and will not hesitate to act against criminal acts and violence. We seek closer cooperation and strategic partnership between South Africa and all African countries, but especially with Nigeria, on various continental matters of peace, security, migration, and development. It is our common desire that we mark the 20th anniversary of our binational commission. We will further cement our relations of friendship and cordiality. It is this very strong bond that should propel our two nations to forge ahead in the creation of a much stronger, prosperous, and more peaceful Africa, and best relations between South Africa and Nigeria. Since the inaugural session of the Binational Commission 20 years ago, there have been heightened engagements amongst our respective government departments. I'm confident that the report that will be presented to us shortly will reflect the positive outcomes emanating from these engagements. Although progress has been commendable, we must continue to intensify our efforts to institutionalize the relationship between our two respective governments, but also with the private sector. We must work to significantly increase and diversify trade between our two nations and to make conditions conducive for greater investment flows. We must seek opportunities to extend cooperation on resource beneficiation for the mutual benefit of our people. There is a need to continue to promote people-to-people linkages, especially through tourism, sports, culture, educational exchanges, and in many, many other areas. Through greater economic development, cultural exchange, and social cohesion, we can advance our objective of a stable and peaceful Africa. To this end, our two countries, as part of a continental collective, need to work through bilateral and multilateral avenues to realize all the key aspirations of the African Union's Agenda 2063, especially economic integration and development. We must use this platform to further recommit ourselves to the resolution of conflict in Africa and the fight against terrorism, extremism, and corruption. We need to coordinate our efforts to address the impact of climate change on our countries and on our people, and to work together to promote a significant reduction in global emissions in line with international agreements. The President, to convey our sincere appreciation for the support that Nigeria extended to South Africa's candidature for a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council. We are using this strategic position to champion Africa's quest for peace and stability in line with the collective vision encapsulated in the AU's Agenda 2063. It is my view that our deliberations today will afford us a significant opportunity to refocus and reprioritize our cooperation to strategically address key issues for the mutual benefit of our two countries. I look forward to our productive and fruitful deliberations. And I'd like to thank you, Mr. President, and once again welcome you and your delegation warmly. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, honorable ministers, senior officials, gentlemen and ladies of the press, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor to co-chair this inaugural meeting of our Binational Commission at the level of heads of state. This is a clear manifestation of the special relationship between our two countries. I and my delegation are extremely grateful for the very warm fraternal reception extended to us on our arrival in your beautiful country. I also thank you for the excellent arrangements made for this meeting. I would like to commend our senior officials and ministers for their hard work and the high-quality documentation prepared for our meeting. We in Nigeria value the warm fraternal relations binding our two countries and cherish our special relationship. We consider South Africa an ally and a strategic partner. There exist 32 agreements and memorandum of understandings signed between Nigeria and South Africa. Excuse me. And we need to implement those that have come into force, as well as to expedite necessary action to ratify the 7 outstanding agreements that have not yet been brought into force. I welcome the robust defense cooperation between Nigeria and South Africa and call for more support and solidarity with us in our fight against terrorism and violent extremism. We also welcome the increased collaboration against arms and drug trafficking, money laundering, and human trafficking. We are committed to greater cooperation to address the economic challenges facing the people of our two countries, especially with regard to unemployment, which we believe is at the root of so much youth restiveness and radicalization. We are pleased to inform you that our government has made doing business in Nigeria easier through the Ease of Doing Business initiative to open up more opportunities for investors in Nigeria. We call on the government of South Africa to also take steps to ease the doing of business in the country and open up its market space for Nigerian businessmen and women. In this context, we are gratified that our Nigeria South Africa Business Forum has been organized in the framework of this state visit. Mr. President, we have condemned in the strongest terms attacks against Nigerians and other African nationals living in South Africa, the looting of their shops and businesses and burning of their properties. We call for the strengthening and implementation of all the necessary measures to prevent the reoccurrence of such action which threatens not only our strong bilateral relations, but also what we stand for in the context of our vision, strong and prosperous Africa we want. We also condemn the very few incidents of retaliatory attacks on South African businesses in Nigeria. I am happy to report that we took strong and decisive measures to stop the attacks and prevent any reoccurrence. Nigeria is committed to strengthening the monitoring and implementation mechanism of the Binational Commission between our two countries to ensure the timely execution of our decisions and the achievement of the goals of our Commission. Finally, we are determined on our part to sustain the renewed vigor of the strategic partnership between Nigeria and South Africa, anchored on regular consultation, collaboration, and cooperation. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sure our friends in the media do understand that we now need to get down to real business, whilst they get down to their own business outside.
Okay, once again, President Cyril Ramaphosa expressing his deep regret with regards to the recent public violence. He says this country condemns all forms of intolerance and won't hesitate to act against criminality. President Buhari saying that he condemns the acts on the violence against foreign nationals, saying that he's calling for these mechanisms to be put in place to avoid any reoccurrence. He was saying that Nigerians value the warm relations between South Africa and Nigeria, and he was speaking about the more than 30 agreements which have been negotiated and signed since the establishment of this binational commission, and which are at different stages of implementation. Remember, formal relations between have been conducted through a binational commission established back in 1999 as a structured, one would say, bilateral mechanisms to provide for political, for economic, for social, cultural, scientific, and technical cooperation. So that's basically the opening remarks. This is the state visit of the Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari. We'll check back if there's